Hi there, pipe fitters. Today we're going to be taking a look at JR Products gas seal tape. This tape is specifically designed for gas pipe threads. When you're making repairs on any of the gas lines on your trailer or RV, it's important that you have the appropriate sealants to seal up any of your pipe threads that require sealant. So all of our non-tapered or flared fittings, we need to make sure we've got those sealed up. And this is one of the best products out there. It's got a great rating. You're going to get plenty of it as well. When we open it up here, you can see we get a 1/2 inch wide piece of tape. So that would easily give us plenty of coverage of on our threads to seal those up. And we get nearly 20 feet of tape inside of this container. So in this little package here, you're going to be able to make many repairs to your trailer. If you're just using this as a customer at home, just for some accessories and stuff, this is probably a lifetime supply. And if you do this professionally, this is going to be a product that you can trust to ensure that you're going to get the job done without having any comebacks. Also available from JR Products is Jamar's White Stuff. This is a sealing compound that is going to be great for similar applications as our gas pipe seal here. If we take this off, we can get a closer look at it here. The tape, you do have to pay attention when wrapping it around the threads, because if you wrap it around the wrong direction, when you go to thread your fittings together, it can actually undo your tape. So make sure you've got it wrapped around it to where when you're tightening it, it actually tightens the tape on there. That's why I prefer Jamar's White Stuff, because it just squeezes out of the tube. You can just smear it around the end, and it's a lot easier to get full coverage with this versus the tape. Now, some of the drawbacks with this, though, this is a little bit messier. So if you're working in an interior compartment, you don't want to get any of the sealant around that area, you might want to consider the tape over the sealing compound. But this stuff is also a better sealant as far as the pressure rating than the thread tape. Our thread tape here is only rated for 1,000 PSI versus Jamar's White Stuff has 3,000 PSI for gas and 8,000 PSI for liquid. So you definitely get a lot more pressure with this type of sealant. That being said, though, the temperature rating on the sealing compound is only going to be -40 Fahrenheit up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas our thread tape here is going to go all the way down to -400 degrees Fahrenheit with a maximum of 500 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is great if it's in extreme temperature conditions. If temperature is something you're worried about, go with the tape. And if mess is something you're worried about, go with the tape. But in pretty much every other application, I prefer Jamar's White Stuff. We just recently put a propane quick disconnect on this Taxa Mantis here, and we used each of these sealants in it, and we had no troubles with each. They all sealed up perfectly first time we used them. Why don't you follow along with us, and you can see them in use. We're going to be using the thread tape on the one with the flare fitting on one side and the SA on the other. We're not going to put anything on this side with the flare, but on this side where it goes into the bulkhead, we need to have sealant on it. When you're using thread tape, one of the things you need to keep in mind is that when you go to thread this in, you're wrapping the tape around it. Depending on how you wrap it on here, you're either going to make it wrap tighter around it as you thread it in, or it's actually going to unwind. So you just want to pay attention to that. So we're going to loosen up just a little bit here. It threads in clockwise. So we're going to take our tape and we're just going to wrap it around it like this, spinning it clockwise. And this will ensure that when we thread it in there, it's making our thread tape get tighter as we thread it in. We want to make sure we get it all the way around. Nice and snug. We can just rip the end off there. Make sure you don't block up the opening. I'm just poking my finger in there to make sure it's not blocked. Just take a small screwdriver or something to just clean that out. It's not as important that it's not blocking on this end, but it is very important that you don't get anything on the flared end. So now we can just take the end here and we're just going to thread it right into the bulkhead. We can go ahead and use our adjustable wrenches once again to tighten it down. And we want to get this tightened down pretty far. We want to get our threads all the way up in there to ensure that we don't have any leaks. So now we just want to check to make sure we don't have any leaks. We're just spraying in the end to make sure that's not leaking. It shouldn't. It's all brand new, so everything looks good there. The more important part, though, is to check to make sure that any of the connections where we had screwed anything together that we don't have any presence of bubbles. And what we're looking for is not these bubbles you see running down, but bubbles that are continually reoccurring because of the pressure escaping from our hose or fittings here, blowing those bubbles. We don't see any here, and we're just going to repeat this at each connection point where we had made any connections. And I did go ahead and turn on the propane at the front to make sure that there was pressure in the system to ensure we can find any leaks. The chemical we're using here to check for leaks is just some soap inside of a spray bottle here, just a little bit of soapy water. You can see it makes plenty of good bubbles for us to make those leaks highly visible. So now that we've got everything installed, we've got checked and verified there's no leaks, I went ahead and plugged in our quick connect end into our quick connect here. I did turn the valve here so that way we've got gas flowing. That's going to go over to our grill, and then you're going to use the instructions for your grill. For ours, we have to push in to allow gas to come out and then turn it to hit the striker. And we can see that we've got flame now, we've got nice heat. We're ready to make some dinner for tonight. Now, of course, we're testing this inside, and you want to be doing this outside at home. We have a very large shop that has a ton of room in here, so it's not going to fill up with gas like it does very quickly inside of a small garage at home. So we're going to turn this off, and we're going to go ahead and pack up and get out there so we can enjoy our new propane quick connect. And that completes our look at JR Products Gas Seal Tape.